Sup guys, Seiishizo here, another video. Gonna talk about artifacts, what to keep, what to sell, what do I keep, how do I work on this stuff. It's difficult to manage, yes it is. You can't get artifacts on units, you start, counters, fix that, okay, and rent. But yeah, besides that, so how do I approach artifacts? And do I think people sell too many artifacts, or do I think people keep too many artifacts? And I think the first, people sell too many artifacts. Why? Because the actual, like, an artifact can look bad from just getting it, but it will actually look good when you roll it. So I just kept like a whole bunch of artifacts. I prefer to keep as most as possible unless I know it's really useless. So to go over that, let's first look at like what are the actual stats, but it's also really important know how much they can roll for. So here we have a list with like all of set. Do you see my mouse in there? Yeah, okay, cool. So I think personally the one that are bound to like the type and the attribute are probably the best rolls you can get. So that's like crit damage, recovery, accuracy on your type, so that's like attack, HP, blah blah blah, and then attributes is like dealt damage on and receive damage from. I think those are your best to get pretty much, but also know how much they can roll. So like 30 maxes, 3 and 6, which is a big gap. So that's, well, it's technically same gap as like HP, like 4 to 8. So I'm also gonna use that example, I think, because a lot of them are like half to like full, or like 1 to like double. So like 3 to 6 double, or like 6 is 3 is half. That's that. But then you also have a few which are worse. So it's 1 to triple. So that's a really big gap, like 1 to triple. That's an insane amount of gap, and especially for those, if you get like a 1 on a baseline, so you just get like the base stat of a 1, but it actually, like, let's say bomb damage. Bomb damage is probably the easiest to talk about. So bomb damage, let's say you get a hero that is bomb damage and it's 1%. There are odds that you still get 10% bomb damage. There's also odds if you get a 3% bomb damage and it rolls triple into bomb damage, it will end up at 6. There are also, that's talking about heroes, there are also odds that you get a hero bomb damage, it will go triple into bomb damage and it will end up at 6, and you get a blue one and it's 1% bomb damage, it goes double into 6%, double into 3%, so 6, it will end up at 7. So a blue artifact that looked really shit ended up better in just that bomb damage than the hero artifact that looked on a high base. So therefore, rolling things to at least 3 to 6 is really good, and it's actually really cheap. I do know, I do want to state that as well, mana is going to be an issue for a lot of people. Yes, I do know that. But upping an artifact to 3 is gonna cost you what, like below 5k. So it's 900, 1800, and 2.7k, that's 5.4k. Quick math, boom. So yeah, that's about it. So it's just 5.4k for rolling a 3. I think it's always worth it to do at least the first 3. Like, if you like at least need these stats, like, and it's kind of like on the type or the attribute that you want, because there's a whole bunch of types that don't match like certain, well, yeah, mostly like types, I would say, that don't really match certain stats. Attributes can pretty much fit everything, but you got to keep in mind you don't need everything. So for example, you can get like a role that's or you can get like a type that's defense and then blah 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 really fits Tyrannies, but you only have 1 Tyrannies and you probably only have like a few defensive type units. Like I checked for myself, I only have 2 defense type units. Show this, yes, okay. So this is a list I made. It's probably super inefficient and blah blah blah, but whatnot. So I just put down like the names of the units, the types, the elements, and then I put like a weight to it because I care more about, like, let's say Gianna Sierra Hathor than I would care about Zhongchang Lao or Tesario. It's kind of flickering. a little bit, but whatever. And I also put like the preferred stats, so like S3 Eki, S2 Eki, bomb damage, that kind of stuff. Like just thinking about like, just to give you, like if you do this, you already like when you get an artifact, you already have the idea like, okay, can I use this somewhere? Like I've seen it, like I wrote it down, and if you actually write stuff down, you're more likely to remember to actually whether you want to keep it or not. What you could also do is, because you don't always have an Excel sheet by hand, like if you're farming like somewhere outside, or like when you're just sitting somewhere without a computer or anything, or you don't have like Excel like access to you right now, you can just keep your artifacts you're not sure about and just sell them later. Like it's not bad to do. And then also I put like, okay, so I got 3 dark units, 3 light units. This is just purely RTA for me. You could do this for Siege, you could do this for everything together, like anything. But you can see like the normal elements, there's a whole bunch more. And same for like attack and support, and HP is quite some, and then defense is just 2. So as you can also see, like these are the percentages more of the weights than like the actual numbers, but you can see like I need most in like fire, mostly like wind, and then fire and water. Yeah, the other way around. And then here's attack and support, a little bit of HP, and then barely any defense. So let's say I get like a defense type rune that fits Tyrannies, but I already know Tyrannies already has a good one. You can keep on keeping them and that kind of stuff. But if you know they're not gonna be better than the one you already have, and you know you're not gonna use that many, you can start selling those. Like that's the option where people keep too many. But the option where people keep too little is actually when you see a stat that looks really bad, but it can actually get up like pretty good. So I'm actually gonna go over a few artifacts to just give some examples where I think I can use them, where I think like I would not instantly sell this. I probably also kept some that I would instantly sell. So just going over them. I will cut out like the upgrading if I'm not talking about anything useful. Well, I could cut out the whole video then, but whatever. So yeah, let's do that. Also keep in mind, let's get this thing back. So just keep in mind like what are the rules. So this artifact looks pretty good, but it's also kind of wonky. Wait, let me make this like a little bit. Yes, okay. So but it's also kind of wonky because it's like it's an attack artifact with a defense type. Can work for some units like bruises, sierras, whatnot, those kind of things. But if you go like skill 3 crit damage, you preferably want attack as well. Well, not always. Also, do not, like I had this with this conversation with people. It's like I just get like really shit things, and then I get like finally get a legendary, and it's like all like it's recovery skill 1, and like I don't need the damage reflect and blah blah blah. I actually want to get like skill 3 crit damage, skill 2 crit damage, additional attack, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. It's like, yeah, I also want a Lamborghini for my birthday, but you're not gonna get it. That's about it. Like I also want Santa to give me good shit. I mean, you're not gonna get it. So keep in mind you're gonna have 1 or 2 dead lines on pretty much every artifact. That's just how it is, but aim for the ones that are actually good. So if you have 1 good line on an artifact that makes sense for the type and the stat, keep it, roll it, see if it goes in that one. If it like on the first roll it doesn't go in there, just sell it. Then you wasted 5k. It's not that much. So like I said, mana is an issue. Yes, I know mana is an issue, but it's also an issue to sell artifacts that have potential. So I'd rather have you farm less artifacts and therefore keep more that actually have potential, and like actually check if they have potential. And if you don't have mana, just go back to the normal dungeons until you have the mana to actually do it, rather than just selling a whole bunch of shit that could actually be good, and then in the end you still have nothing and you just have like a little bit of mana and you start wasting that on something that like plus 12ing like this artifact. That is expensive because this artifact is not really optimal, and it was actually a legendary. So okay, if this goes in crit damage skill 4 right now, it did okay. It was actually 3 low rolls ish. 17% would be an upgrade if it was attack on the base, but it's not. Then it would be an upgrade from Illusion. But yeah, this is totally usable. And keep in mind you can also remove 1 line, but in this case this artifact will always have 2 dead lines, and it actually rolled once in one of the dead lines, so it turned down hero right away. So because skill 1 recovery is not going to be used, and then damage dealt reflect, unless I pull a ragdoll, it's not going to be used, and then you have skill 3 crit damage, and then okay, this is the ultimate troll, right? This is the ultimate troll. Straight up. Ultimate troll. One in everything. Lowest lines possibles. If it doesn't go bomb damage, straight up dead stats. Would you still keep it? Probably not. But if you're not farming that many artifacts, you can just throw 5k at it, check if bomb damage goes until 4. If it does, then it's good. If it doesn't, you sell it right now. So those kind of like processes, like, okay, sure, it takes a bunch of time, it wastes a bunch of mana, but I think like a lot of these artifacts actually have like potential to be quite good rather than be sold right away. But then again, there's also a whole bunch of stats I feel like are quite underwhelming. So what are the stats I would personally focus for? Like I said before, I think the types are really good. The attributes are really good, like those like specialized things. I think for support runes, what I notice is speed increased to proportional lost HP. I think that's pretty good. I haven't really tested it yet, but I think like a lot of support types, let's say your Hathor is already max Eki, then you don't really need the Eki. Well, like these are still good, but like besides that, you can have some like, apparently the received crit damage is also like really minimum. Crushing hit is pretty terrible. Damage received on inability effects is decent, I would say. Additional damage from these things are not that much. Speed could be used for like some like speed units, and it works on multi-hits. So for like multi-hitters, these things, like I think this additional ampersand for speed is probably like, if it's multi-hitters and it's tested that it works for multi-hitters, what if you would use this on an Okeanos S3, because Okeanos S3 hits on 4 targets in RTA. 5 times 4 times 5 is 20, so this whole thing is applied 20 times. I guess it's OP, haven't tested it yet, but let me know if anyone did in the comment section. So I think these are pretty good. HP on attack bar when revived. This is the worst. This is absolute trash. So I think for like rating the worst, I think crushing hit is really bad. So what is a crushing hit? Crushing hit is not a critical hit. Crushing hit actually adds 30% to your damage. Crushing hits applies on a certain amount of chance, I think, when you hit the correct element, so wind hitting water. But wind hitting water also increases the crit rate, so it barely happens. So this is like, this barely happens, like not at all. Like I think crushing hit is absolutely useless. I think the HP when revived, attack bar when revived, that kind of stuff is pretty useless. It's 15%. It's really, really low. Like HP maybe, but it's really low. Sure, everyone's like, oh, but it works on demons. It's like, yeah, but how many people use demons? It's like, it's terrible. And then again, you just need one. You need one. You don't have to store 20 of these artifacts. Life drain, damage reflect. Life drain can be for some units, but another. Attacking together, of course, twins insanely good. Raoak insanely good, mostly PvE style, and siege for like the twins if you have Martina. Bomb damage, of course, really really good, like Sierra, Gianna, but also your like single, like just your Libli and or Libli, whatever like bomber you have, like anything, it could be like pretty good. Then we have damage for counterattacks. There's not too many units that have counterattacks. Of course, Artemil, Laika, Miho, they have like really like high value with these things. So also for this artifact, for example, this artifact looks pretty good. 2 out of 3 lines are kind of usable, because I think the speed increased by proportional lost HP, I think it's not that much, but if you can mess up your turn orders as well, you have to watch out with that. But I think that's actually a line, like compared to a lot of like shitty lines, that one is pretty nice. Oh, I missed a few. speed increase and crit rate increase. I think crit rate increase is really minimum use as well, like how many units actually use like crit rate increase in RTA, for example. You could throw this on like copper, bolo, those kind of things. That's, yeah. Speed increase. So some units that have like self-buffing speed and then speed scaling damage, Bernard, Savannah, those kind of units, I guess it's pretty decent. But besides that, Vigor, no speed scaling damage. But like, I think, yeah, if you want to throw like increase effect, you would have to have that on a unit that buffs it like him or herself. So defense, tyrannies, attack could actually be pretty decent on Fran, I would say. And I think like for supports, like a lot of supports benefit a lot from like increasing speed by proportionate lost HP, like Triana, Fran, probably even like Genny, Hathor, those kind of units. And I think for supports also like damage under damage received under an ability and speed under an ability, that those will like be quite decent. So yeah, you just gotta check what makes sense, because if you just have like crit damage skill 3 on a support, there's barely any supports that have crit damage skill 3. Sure, there's gonna be a few, but there's not too many. So bottom line is, you gotta know what units you have, you gotta know what skills they have, and you gotta know like where that fit into the puzzle, and then what kind of stuff would you keep and would you sell. Most importantly, I would say, at least, because every artifact is gonna have a deadline, as I would say, like, so in this case, there's not really that much of a deadline, but it's not like some are like not that interesting. I think like most of the artifacts are worth to keep to at least +3. Like, let's say for the one of the 3 main elements, attack, support, I think are the most used types. So I think for those 3, so for like the main elements, and then the your most common used types, which are probably attack and support, because I think most people have more attack and support. This one I'm not too sure about. No, I have better artifact already for like attack together. That's also a thing, like at some point you have something and you already have something better. Don't like it, if you don't need that many, like you don't have like 20 twins, like you don't need that many stuff then at some point. So yeah, it's a big puzzle. It's a big puzzle. It's like a lot of like min-maxing what do you need where and that kind of stuff. But yeah, try to at least roll 2-3. That's what I would say. Like, try to roll at least 2-3. And if it then is a max roll in the stat that you actually want, because having 2 dead stats on an artifact doesn't necessarily make it bad right away. Like, not at all. Like this one, for example, it looks pretty bad. But if this goes like fully into attack together and it makes it a 10, then it's pretty good. If it goes +1 in HP revived, cool, man. I lost 5k mana and we keep going. So that's pretty much how my take is on it. If you have a different take, leave it in the comment section. Like, feel free to discuss. But I think too many people are selling too many artifacts and they want like the perfect whole set of lines and that kind of stuff. Also, if you're low on mana, don't put it on +6. Put it on +3 first, put it then on +6 and so on, because now I wasted like the +4 for no reason. And sure, it's like just 3k mana, but hey, like if I do that 6 times, it's more. Get my point? Also, like if you say like, oh, I have a defense, like an attack type with a defense base, it's bad, I can sell it right away. It's like, it's not that bad. There's actually a lot of bruisers that can benefit from an attack type that then have like defense. Like for example, okay, Perna then is HP type, but Perna on a defense slot is a lot better than a Perna on an HP slot, and I'm gonna show you why. So that's the last thing I want to talk about, and then I think this video is long enough already. Perna base stats. So Perna base stats, I have to remove this thing, otherwise you don't see the Perna base stats. So this is my shitty Perna. Perna base stats. If I would add 200 attack, I would probably add the value of about 22% of like the base, pretty much. So yeah, 200 attacks about like 20 to 25. Don't add me on that one, whatever. But if I add 200 defense for Perna is close to 50% extra defense. That's an insane amount more value. And it's like, yeah, but I want my Perna to hit really hard. Makes sense for nukers, makes sense for illusion, makes sense for units that just have to kill and otherwise nothing happens. Like let's say a Daphnis. So if your Daphnis is built one-shotting, you want to one-shot. If your Daphnis is violent and tanky, you could choose like going HP defense. It's not necessary to go attack. But like for some units, like the base stats just really ask for a certain type or a certain base stat. Same for Fran. Adding in attack is a lot less value than adding in like 200 defense, because it's just so much easier to get attack by the multiplication of the base, and same for HP, than it is for defense. So also for like units like Diana, HP, sure, you want to stack like a lot of HP, but is it the best to stack HP? Probably not. So yeah, that's about it for artifacts. So if you have any questions, leave it in the comments, like the video, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. Like a lot of you people were actually like smashing their face in the keyboard on the last one, so good to see that, good to see the support. And thanks for watching, guys, and peace.